Portugal, a land where the rhythm of the Atlantic meets a soul that has been waiting for you. For many of us, traveling isn't just about seeing a new monument or checking a box on a list. It is about a quiet, desperate search for a place where we can finally put our shoulders down. We carry a heavy, invisible weight across the ocean, a hypervigilance born from years of navigating spaces where we are watched, judged, or simply misunderstood. We look for a sanctuary where the air feels lighter and the stairs don't follow us down the street. Portugal is that deep collective exhale. It is a living, breathing entity that doesn't just tolerate your presence, but embraces it with a warmth that feels like a long-lost relative welcoming you home. In these cobbled streets and golden cliffs, the tension that has lived in your chest for years begins to dissolve into the salt air. This is the safe haven you didn't know you were allowed to have. Here, the power of nature and the kindness of the people intertwine to create a frequency of peace that resonates with the weary traveler. It is a place of profound contrasts where ancient stone walls guard modern dreams of freedom. Today, we aren't just exploring a destination. We are stepping into a new reality. A reality where you are safe, where you are seen, and where you are finally irrevocably free to just be. When you step off the plane in Lisbon or Porto, something strange happens. You realize you are no longer scanning the room. You aren't checking for exits or wondering if the person at the next table is uncomfortable with your joy. This is the beauty of blending in. Portugal has a deep ancestral connection to the African continent through its ties with Angola, Cape Verde, Guinea-Bissau, and Mozambique. Because of this, the sight of a black face isn't a curiosity or a threat. It is a fundamental part of the Portuguese fabric. You aren't a spectacle here. You aren't an anomaly. You are part of the beautiful, diverse crowd that flows through the plazas. This representation matters because it provides a psychological safety that is rare in the Western world. When you see Black people running successful businesses, leading walking tours, or simply enjoying a quiet coffee in the park, it validates your right to exist in high-quality spaces. You aren't relegated to the margins. You are in the center of the story. The Portuguese people possess a genuine friendliness that isn't transactional. They don't look at you through the lens of a historical struggle that isn't theirs. They see a human being. This lack of racial friction allows for the soft life we so often talk about, but rarely experience. It is the freedom to walk through a luxury boutique or a quiet neighborhood at night without a second thought. It is the peace of mind that comes when you realize the Green Book is a relic of the past, and this soil is a playground for your future. For the American traveler, the logistics of this freedom are surprisingly accessible. If you hold a blue United States passport, the door is already wide open. You are granted 90 days of visa-free travel within the Schengen area, which includes every inch of Portugal's sun-drenched territory. This means you have 3 full months to test the waters, to breathe the air, and to see if this is the place where your soul wants to plant seeds. But for many in our community, 90 days isn't enough. There is a growing movement, a modern-day exodus of people looking to optimize their lives and protect their peace. Portugal has become the premier destination for this transition because of its welcoming residency pathways. The most famous is the D7 visa, often called the passive income visa. This is a game changer for anyone with a pension, social security, or remote investment income. If you can show a stable monthly income of roughly $1,200, you are eligible to apply for a residency that leads to a permanent home and eventually a European passport. Think about that. The amount of money that barely covers a studio apartment in a high-stress American city can buy you a life of dignity and beauty here. Then there is the digital nomad visa designed specifically for the remote workers, the creatives, and the entrepreneurs who have broken free from the cubicle. If you work for a US company or run your own online business, Portugal wants you. They recognize the value of your talent and your presence. The process is straightforward, and while the paperwork can be meticulous, it is a small price to pay for the return on your investment in yourself. To make this move a reality, hiring a local Portuguese lawyer is the smartest move you can make. For a few $1,000s, they navigate the bureaucracy for you. You ensuring your NIF or tax number is secured, and your lease agreements meet the government's standards. They are the bridge between your old life of stress and your new life of serenity. The total cost of the transition is often less than the down payment on a car in the States. Yet the profit is a lifetime of safety and a quality of life that is truly priceless. This isn't just a dream for the wealthy. It is a blueprint for anyone ready to prioritize their well-being over their workload. Portugal offers a path to citizenship that is among the most attainable in Europe, meaning that in a few years, your children could have the freedom of an entire continent at their fingertips. This is how we build a new legacy. Not through struggle, but through the strategic pursuit of peace. As we move forward through this journey, we will see the places that make this exodus worth every mile traveled. We will explore the cities where history is etched in tile and the islands where the green mountains meet the blue sea. This is your invitation to stop surviving and start living the soft life you were always meant to have. Welcome to your new beginning. Welcome home. Lisbon is a city that doesn't just sit on its 7 hills. It breathes with a rhythm that feels strangely familiar, even if you have never set foot on its sun-drenched cobblestones. For the black traveler coming from the United States, there is a profound and immediate shift in the atmosphere here. It is not just the golden light reflecting off the Tagus River, or the pastel buildings that seem to glow at sunset. It is the feeling of being seen without being stared at. Lisbon is the capital of representation in a way that most European cities struggle to achieve. Here, the history of the world is etched into every tile and every archway. But unlike back home, you are not a footnote in this story. You are woven into the very fabric of the streets. When you wander through the winding alleys of Alfama and Moraria, you aren't just a tourist observing a foreign culture. You are witnessing a vibrant, living diaspora that has shaped this city for centuries. This is where the soul of the city resides, far away from the dry walls of traditional museums that often fail to tell our truth. In Moraria, the air is thick with the scent of spices from across the ocean and the sound of fado music drifting from a hidden tavern. But look closer, and you will see the faces of Angola, Cape Verde, and Mozambique smiling back at you. These are neighborhoods where multiculturalism isn't a political slogan. It is the daily reality. You see black men and women running successful boutiques, traditional restaurants, and art galleries. You see young creators spray painting murals that celebrate African heritage on ancient stone walls. This visibility is a powerful form of validation. It is the psychological relief of knowing that you don't have to explain your presence or justify your space. You are part of the mainstream flow of the city, not an outsider looking in. In Lisbon, the concept of the soft life becomes tangible. It is found in the slow mornings at a kiosk in a public square, where you can sit for hours with a coffee and a pastry without a single soul rushing you or making you feel out of place. There is a specific kind of peace that comes from navigating a major metropolitan area where the hypervigilance we carry in America simply has no fuel to burn. You don't have to scan the room when you walk into a luxury hotel in the Avenida da Liberdade. You don't have to wonder if the police officer on the corner is a protector or a threat. That heavy armor we wear every day starts to feel unnecessary, and for the first time you can feel the sun on your skin without the shadow of anxiety. The representation here matters because it changes the narrative of what is possible for us in a global context. When you see a black family enjoying a quiet dinner in a high-end district, or a group of young professionals of color laughing in a rooftop bar, you realize that this is a society where you can thrive in the light. This city acknowledges the depth of its roots. It doesn't hide the African influence that has defined its music, its food, and its spirit. Instead, it wears that heritage with pride. You can find yourself in the rhythms of the batuco drums in the squares, or in the deep, soulful gaze of the street performers who carry the stories of their ancestors in their voices. As you walk through the Baixo district, you realize that the architecture itself seems to embrace you. The wide plazas and open spaces reflect a culture that values community and connection over isolation. For us, this is a homecoming to a home we never knew we had. The hospitality is genuine and warm, often accompanied by a simple nod of recognition that says, "I see you, and you belong here." It is the absence of that subtle racial friction that makes Lisbon so addictive for the black traveler. You can focus on the beauty of the Geronimos Monastery or the intricate details of the Belém Tower without the mental baggage of wondering if you are welcomed. You are more than welcomed. You are expected. The city feels like a sanctuary where you can finally invest your energy into your own joy rather than your own defense. This is the liberation that Portugal offers. It is the freedom to be ordinary, to be extraordinary, and to be everything in between, without the lens of race defining your every move. You are a global citizen walking through a city that helped build the modern world, and your contribution is visible in every corner. This is why Lisbon is the first stop on the journey to freedom. It sets the tone for a new way of living where your peace is protected and your presence is celebrated. It is a city that teaches you how to breathe again, showing you that a better quality of life isn't just a dream, it is a destination. As the evening fog rolls in from the Atlantic and the lights of the city begin to twinkle like diamonds, you realize that you have found a place that loves you back. This is the start of your exodus. This is the moment you decide that you deserve a life that is as beautiful as the tiles under your feet and as vast as the ocean before you. Welcome to the new standard of living. Welcome to Lisbon. Sintra. If Lisbon is the vibrant heartbeat of a multi-ethnic living entity, then Sintra is the peaceful breath that your soul has always craved. Just a short train ride from the capital, you step into a world where misty clouds drape over emerald peaks, creating an ethereal atmosphere straight out of a storybook. For the black traveler, Sintra is more than just a sightseeing destination. It is a medicine for the mind. Here, the definition of safety is elevated to a new level. You can move freely between magnificent palaces, winding through dense forest trails, without once worrying about suspicious glances or the heavy feeling of being out of place. This is where the mental green book completely evaporates, replaced by pure wonder at the surreal beauty of nature and human hands. Pina Palace appears on the mountain peak like a dazzling crown of yellow, red, and blue. It is a masterpiece of romanticism, where architectural styles, from Gothic to Manueline, blend into an unbelievable beauty. As you stand on the palace terrace, looking out over the vast ocean and the deep forests, you will feel truly small, yet incredibly free. This awe has a miraculous healing power. It pushes back the accumulated stress of the hustle culture and social pressures back in the States. Here you are not a target, not a statistic. You are simply a soul enjoying the grandeur of the universe. There are no barriers, no surveillance, just you and the silence of the clouds. The journey continues to Quinta da Regalera, a land of mysteries and symbols. This is where your imagination is fully released. The most impressive highlight is the Initiation Well, a deep well with a spiral staircase leading into the earth. As you descend the mossy stone steps, you feel a deep connection to Mother Earth. It feels like a journey into the self, where you shed all masks and defenses to find your purest identity. The labyrinth gardens, hidden caves, and crystal-clear lakes create a space of absolute privacy. In this space, the feeling of being safe to be curious is a priceless gift. You can spend hours exploring every corner, touching ancient stone walls, without fear of being disturbed or judged. The freedom of movement in Sintra is the clearest testament to the soft life we have been searching for. You can hop on a local bus hike along steep roads, or sit in a small village cafe, and always feel a sense of genuine respect from the locals. They see the joy in your eyes, and they respect it. There is no underlying tension, no unwritten rules about where you should or should not appear. The entirety of Sintra is yours to explore. Your presence here is part of the diverse beauty that Portugal joyfully embraces. As the sunset begins to fall, painting the watchtowers and pine ridges in shades of pink, you will realize that Sintra has given you something more precious than beautiful photos. It is the validation that you deserve to live in a space full of dignity and beauty. It soothes psychological wounds and reminds you that this world still has corners full of compassion and peace. Sintra is not just a temporary escape. It is a new standard for how you want to experience your life. A life without fear, only wonder, and absolute freedom. This is where you find peace in your soul, so that when you leave, you carry a part of that mist and silence in your heart, knowing that you have truly been free. Porto. If Lisbon is the stylish older sister who knows all the trends, Porto is the soulful grandmother who keeps the family secrets in her ancient stone walls and a warm glass of wine. It is a city that feels like a masterpiece, painted in shades of granite and gold, standing defiantly against the Atlantic winds. For the black traveler, stepping into Porto is like stepping into a version of history where you are finally allowed to rest. The city is defined by its verticality, its houses piled on top of one another, like colorful blocks, leading your gaze down to the mighty Douro River. The air here is different. It's crisp, it's honest, and it carries a sense of permanence that is deeply grounding. When we talk about the soft life, we are often talking about the luxury of time and the absence of struggle. Porto offers this in abundance. It is a city that invites you to slow down, to notice the intricate azulejo tiles on the churches, and to feel the texture of the history beneath your feet. The centerpiece of this experience is the Dom Luís I Bridge, a towering double-deck iron structure that is as much a work of art as it is a feat of engineering. Walking across the upper deck is a rite of passage. As you stand high above the water, looking out over the terracotta rooftops of Ribeira on one side, and the massive wine cellars of Vila Nova de Gaia on the other, you feel a sense of expansion. In America, we are often told to stay in our lane, to keep our heads down, and to navigate spaces with caution. On this bridge, the wind from the ocean tells a different story. It tells you that this world is vast, and that you have every right to stand at its peak. There is a profound psychological shift that happens when you are surrounded by such grandeur and yet feel completely at peace. You aren't looking over your shoulder. You aren't wondering if you belong in this high-profile landmark. You are simply a human being witnessing the sunset draped in a golden light that makes everyone look like royalty. Down by the riverbank in the Ribeira district, the atmosphere is electric yet remarkably laid back. This is the heart of the northern soul. You can sit at a small wooden table right by the water, order a glass of ruby port wine, and watch the traditional Rebelo boats glide by. In these moments, the conversation inevitably turns to the concept of economic freedom. For many of us, the American dream has become an American treadmill. High rents, expensive groceries, and a cost of living that demands every ounce of our energy just to stay afloat. Porto offers a radical alternative. Let's talk about the numbers, because the math is the path to freedom. In cities like Chicago, New York, or Atlanta, a decent lifestyle can easily cost $4,000 or $5,000 a month, leaving you exhausted and spiritually drained. In Porto, the reality is startlingly different. Here, $1,200 a month can buy you a life that feels like royalty. Imagine a world where your rent for a beautiful apartment with high ceilings and a view of the city is a fraction of what you'd pay for a windowless studio in Brooklyn. Imagine eating fresh organic meals at a local Tasca grilled octopus, fresh bread, and a carafe of wine for less than the price of a fast food combo back home. When the cost of survival drops, the quality of your life skyrockets. This is the exodus we are talking about. It's about taking that hard-earned American dollar and giving it 5 times the power. Economic freedom means you no longer have to say yes to every soul-crushing project just to pay the bills. It means you can afford the luxury of hobbies, of long walks, and of deep sleep. In Porto, you aren't just surviving, you are optimizing. You are reclaiming the hours of your day that used to be stolen by the grind. The local community in Porto is famously hardworking, but they refuse to let work define their identity. They prioritize the cafezinho with friends and the long Sunday lunches with family. As a Black expat or traveler, you are invited into this rhythm. You will find that the people here value character over status. They don't care about the brand of your car. They care if you are a good person who appreciates the beauty of their city. This lack of pretension creates a safety net for your spirit. You can blend into the local markets buying fresh oranges and artisanal cheese and feel a genuine connection to the people around you. There is a specific kind of validation that comes from being a regular at a neighborhood cafe, where the owner knows your name and your order, not because you are a minority they are trying to accommodate, but because you are a neighbor. The Douro Valley. If Porto is the vibrant spirit of the north, then the Douro Valley is the sacred space where the breath of the ancestors mingles with the ancient soil. This is not just the oldest demarcated wine region in the world, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is a sanctuary of absolute silence. For us as Black Americans, who have spent a lifetime navigating the high-speed, high-pressure demands of the hustle culture in the United States, the Douro Valley appears as a divine answer to our collective prayer for peace. Here, time is not measured by project deadlines or the relentless notifications on your phone. It is measured by the slow turn of the grapevines on terraced slopes that curve along the deep blue river. This is the place where you relearn how to breathe deeply, how to listen to the wind as it sweeps through the valley, and how to grant your soul permission to truly rest. As you step into this valley, you are met with a sight that feels otherworldly. The steep mountainsides have been carved into thousands of stone terraces, hand-built over centuries. For the black traveler, standing in the center of this vastness offers a profound sense of spiritual liberation. In America, we are often forced to be in a constant state of performance, proving our worth and justifying our space in every room we enter. But in the Douro, nature asks nothing of you. These ancient vineyards have witnessed the rise and fall of empires, and they welcome you with a stillness that is entirely non-judgmental. You can sit on the terrace of a centuries-old quinta, sipping a glass of rich, velvety red wine, and feel an ancestral connection to the earth. This is the true definition of the soft life. A life where your inner peace is the highest priority, and your only job is to be present. The culture of slow living in the Douro is infused into every meal and every conversation. The locals here cherish the present moment. They might spend hours preparing a dinner with ingredients picked straight from the garden, and even more hours enjoying it with laughter and storytelling. This genuine warmth is a healing balm for anyone weary of the superficiality and transactional nature of the modern world. Here you are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to be lazy without a shred of guilt. You realize that your productivity is not the measure of your humanity. When you shed the weight of having to be twice as good to get half as far, you find yourself becoming lighter and more free than ever before. The Douro teaches us that the most precious things in life come from waiting and nurturing. The ability to move freely and safely throughout this countryside, it is a critical factor in melting away that permanent state of hypervigilance. You can drive along the winding roads, visit isolated tiny villages, or walk along the riverbanks while feeling completely protected by the hospitality of the community. There are no suspicious glances, no invisible boundaries, and no racial friction. There is only a mutual respect between the traveler and the keepers of this land. The Douro Valley is not just a geological wonder. It is a sacred space for you to reclaim your energy and find yourself again. When you leave this place, you carry the silence of the stone terraces in your mind, knowing you have found a place where your spirit can finally call home. This is the journey back to peace, back to your most liberated self. Alentejo. If Lisbon is the pulse and Porto is the soul, then Alentejo is Portugal's deepest and slowest breath. For us as Black Americans who have spent our lives tensing up in high-pressure concrete jungles, Alentejo emerges as a cathedral of silence. This is a land of cork and olive groves stretching to the horizon, where whitewashed houses with blue trim stand proud under the brilliant Mediterranean sun. Stepping into Alentejo is entering a reality where time seems to stand still, where the noise of the modern world is replaced by the rustle of wind through silver leaves and the distant chime of cowbells. This is a place for those seeking a true escape, an exodus not just for travel, but to completely redefine the meaning of existence. The city of Evora, a UNESCO-recognized gem, is the heart of this region. Ancient city walls wrap around narrow streets and sun-drenched squares. As you walk past the Roman temple or contemplate the stillness of the Chapel of Bones, you feel a strange connection to the eternal flow of history. For the Black traveler, the sense of safety here is absolute. You can wander alone through the quiet night, breathing in the scent of fresh bread and oak wood without once worrying about your safety or judgmental stares. In Evora, you don't need to explain who you are. Your presence is accepted as an inevitable part of this peaceful space. This is the soft life, at its purest level, where your value is measured by your ability to enjoy the present moment rather than your workload. But the true draw of Alentejo lies in the vast countryside, where the dream of a self-sufficient life becomes more possible than ever. In our community, there is a powerful rising desire to return to the land, to own a small plot, and live apart from the political and social chaos back in the States. Alentejo is the answer. For the price of a cramped apartment in Atlanta or Houston, you can own a small estate with ancient olive trees and heavy grapevines. Imagine waking up every morning, not to car horns or frantic alarms, but to gentle sunlight peeking through wooden shutters. You step out into the garden, pick juicy oranges, and breathe air that holds not a single speck of anxiety. This is not a distant dream. It is a practical roadmap for those ready to make the migration to protect their mental health. The culture in Alentejo revolves around the concept of honoring slowness. The locals here consider rushing an insult to the beauty of life. They take the time to listen to one another and enjoy traditional meals made from the cleanest ingredients of Mother Earth. For a Black American exhausted by the superficiality of consumer culture, this sincerity is like a cool, refreshing stream. Here you are, encouraged to be intentionally lazy. You can spend an entire afternoon watching migratory birds or reading a book under an oak tree without feeling like you are wasting time. This liberation brings an invaluable healing power, soothing psychological wounds accumulated over generations. The ability to integrate in Alentejo comes from the rustic simplicity and innate hospitality of the locals. They see in you a traveler seeking peace, and they are willing to share that peace. There is no distinction between us and them, only humans living together under one sky. Your presence in ancient villages like Montserrat or Marval is welcomed with gentle nods and warm smiles. You feel respected not for what you have, but for your simple presence. Alentejo teaches us that true freedom is when you can live a simple life and still find yourself rich in soul. Lagos. If the north of Portugal is about history and deep wine, then Lagos is where the soul of the Atlantic comes to play, and where your heart finally finds its sanctuary. Located in the sun-drenched region of the Algarve, Lagos is a place where the cliffs are made of liquid gold, and the water is a shade of turquoise so pure it feels like a dream. For the Black traveler, arriving in Lagos is a profound experience, because it is widely known as the unofficial capital of the Black expat community in Southern Europe. Here, the feeling of being an outsider evaporates the moment you step onto the sand. This is a place where the soft life isn't just a luxury, it is the local currency. You are greeted not with curiosity or suspicion, but with a warmth that feels like a long-lost embrace. It is in the cafes, the markets, and along the marinas where you will hear that beautiful, unmistakable sound. "Hello, sister," or "Welcome home, brother," shouted with a genuine smile that reaches the eyes. This isn't just hospitality. It is a recognition of shared humanity and a celebration of your presence in a space that truly wants you there. The crown jewel of this Atlantic sanctuary is Ponta da Piedade. This is not just a coastline. It is a geological masterpiece carved by the relentless passion of the ocean over millions of years. Imagine towering limestone cliffs that glow with an intense, honey-colored hue under the Portuguese sun, standing tall against the deep sapphire blue of the sea. These rocks have been sculpted into magnificent arches, hidden grottos, and secret pillars that look like natural cathedrals rising from the water. For the Black traveler coming from the high-stress environments of America, standing at the edge of these cliffs is a moment of pure spiritual alignment. There is a sense of scale here that makes your worries feel small and your potential feel infinite. You can take a small wooden boat or a kayak into the heart of these golden caves, where the light dances on the walls and the only sound is the gentle lapping of the tide. In these hidden chambers of nature, you find a privacy and a peace that is rare. There is no one to perform, for no one to prove anything, to just you, the stone, and the sea. What makes Lagos truly special for our community is the sheer density of representation. In many parts of the Western world, we are used to being the only one in the room. But in Lagos, you are part of a thriving, diverse tapestry. You will see Black families enjoying sunset picnics on the cliffs of Praia, Do Camilo Black entrepreneurs running yoga retreats, and Black creatives finding inspiration in the local art scene. This level of visibility provides a freedom protocol that allows you to drop your guard. You don't have to scan the beach to see if you are welcome. The environment itself is your invitation. The Hello Sista energy you encounter here is a healing balm for the soul. It validates your right to enjoy the finest things in life, the freshest seafood, the cleanest air, and the most beautiful views, without the heavy price of racial fatigue. In Lagos, your Blackness is not a barrier. It is a bridge to a community that understands the value of peace and the necessity of rest. Economic freedom also takes on a new meaning in the Algarve. While the region is a world-class destination, the cost of living remains remarkably accessible compared to coastal cities in the United States like Miami or Los Angeles. Here, the American dollar stretches into a lifestyle that would be unthinkable back home. You can live in a modern apartment within walking distance of some of the world's most beautiful beaches for a fraction of what a landlocked studio costs in an American city. This financial relief is a key pillar of the Exodus. It allows you to trade the grind for the glow. When you aren't spending every waking hour worrying about the rising cost of survival, you have the mental space to actually live. You can spend your afternoons wandering through the historic center of Lagos, where the whitewashed buildings and cobbled streets tell stories of maritime adventures. Or you can simply sit by the water and let the Atlantic breeze carry away the remnants of your old stress. Lagos is a reminder that we deserve a life that is beautiful by default. It is a place where you can be invisible when you want to blend in and celebrated when you want to connect. The safety here is absolute. You can walk the shore under the moonlight or explore the night markets without a single flicker of the hypervigilance that haunts us back home. The people of Lagos have a relaxed, open-hearted nature that reflects the horizon they look at. Every day, they see the world as a place of connection, not division. For the Black woman seeking a sanctuary, Lagos offers a level of respect and protection that feels revolutionary. You are seen as a queen in your own right, a traveler of the world who has chosen their shores, and they honor that choice with every "Hello, sister," "Oh, sister," you hear. As you watch the sun dip below the golden arches of Ponta de Piedad, painting the sky in shades of violet and fire, you realize that this is what freedom looks like. It isn't just the absence of conflict. It is the presence of total, unadulterated peace. It is the knowledge that there is a place on this earth where the cliffs are gold, the community is kin, and the ocean is your backyard. Lagos is more than a destination. It is a promise that a better, softer, and more beautiful life is waiting for you. This is your Atlantic sanctuary. This is the place where you stop searching and start belonging. Welcome to the Algarve. Welcome to the life you were always meant to lead. Benagil Cave. If Lagos is where your soul finds community connection, then Benagil is where you find absolute silence to face your true self. This is not just a magnificent sea cave. It is a natural cathedral carved by the ocean's patience over millions of years. For Black Americans who carry the invisible psychological burdens of a society that constantly demands vigilance, Benagil emerges as a sacred healing space. Stepping into this cave, you will be overwhelmed by a giant limestone dome with a natural window opening wide to the deep blue sky, allowing golden sunbeams to pour directly onto the smooth sand inside. The grandeur of nature here possesses an invaluable healing power, dissolving psychological traumas and reminding you that you deserve to be surrounded by beauty and peace. The only way to reach the heart of Benagil is by sea on small boats or by paddling kayaks through crystal clear waters. As the boat slowly enters the vast vault, the space suddenly becomes strangely quiet. Soft golden light reflects off the time-stained limestone walls, creating a sacred atmosphere like that of an ancient church. For the Black traveler, the feeling of standing under this natural dome is a powerful experience of spiritual liberation. In America, we often feel our personal space shrinking or being monitored. But at Benagil, the soaring cave ceiling and expansive skylight provide a sense of infinite freedom. You no longer have to brace yourself. You no longer have to prove anything. You are simply a part of eternal creation. The overwhelming scale of Benagil helps us reset our perspective on everyday pain and pressure. When facing a masterpiece that has survived the Ice Age and the shifting of tectonic plates, anxieties about discrimination or social injustice suddenly seem small before the vastness of the universe. This is a place where you can truly let go of the mental armor you have had to wear for so long. The sound of waves lapping against the cliffs and the wind whistling gently through the opening at the top creates a meditative soundtrack, soothing nervous systems that have been overstressed. At Benagil, the concept of the soft life is no longer about luxury items, but the ability to immerse yourself in nature and let it regenerate your energy from within. Many travelers in our community share that they have shed tears while standing on the sand inside the cave. These are not tears of suffering, but the emotion of realizing that the world still holds corners full of compassion and tolerance for them. You feel validated, recognized for your value not by what you do, but by your mere existence before this pure beauty. Benagil does not judge skin color. It does not ask about origins. It only opens its arms of stone and light to embrace anyone who seeks it with a longing for peace. Safety here does not come from human protection, but from the absolute stillness of geology. As you sit on the sand looking up at the brilliant circle of light above you, we'll understand that the journey to escape the pressures of America is not just about finding a new place to live, but about rediscovering the ability to be awestruck and moved by life. Benagil teaches us that the deepest wounds can be healed by silence and surreal beauty. This is an important stop in your spiritual exodus, a place where you regain strength to continue the journey toward freedom. Benagil is not just a wonder of Portugal. It is a cathedral of the soul, a promise that peace always exists if we dare to find it. Let the sunlight from Benagil's skylight illuminate the dark corners of your mind, and you will find yourself stepping out of that cave as a new person, lighter, stronger, and freer than ever before. Coimbra. If Lisbon is the city of light and Porto is the city of granite, then Coimbra is the city of the mind. Rising majestically above the Mondego River, This ancient seat of learning has been the intellectual heartbeat of Portugal for over 7 centuries. For the Black traveler, Coimbra offers a different kind of sanctuary, one built on the power of knowledge tradition and the radical idea that excellence is a universal birthright. In America, our relationship with elite education is often fraught with high barriers, astronomical debt, and the subtle pressure of being a minority in spaces that weren't originally built for us. Coimbra flips that script. When you walk through the iron gates of the University of Coimbra, one of the oldest in the world, you aren't just a guest in a historic monument. You are entering a realm where the pursuit of truth has always been a global endeavor. Here, the scholars wear long black capes that flutter in the breeze, a tradition that inspired the world of Harry Potter. But the real magic is the atmosphere of quiet dignity that permeates every stone. The crown jewel of the intellectual heritage is the Joannina Library, a Baroque masterpiece that feels more like a cathedral for books than a simple collection of texts. Imagine walking into a space draped in gold and exotic woods, where the air is thick with the scent of ancient parchment, and the silence is protected by a colony of bats that have lived in the walls for centuries, guarding the books from insects. For the Black parent or the lifelong learner standing in this library is a moment of profound validation. It is a reminder that our history as humans is documented, preserved, and honored. But the insight for our community goes deeper than the gold leaf on the shelves. It is about the accessibility of this prestige. While the Ivy League institutions in the States demand a king's ransom in tuition, Coimbra offers world-class education for a fraction of the cost. Here, the American dollar grants your children access to an international degree without the crushing weight of student loans that stifle the next generation's freedom before it even begins. This is a crucial pillar of the Exodus, the realization that you can provide your family with an elite European education and a global perspective while maintaining your financial peace. Moving through the university's courtyards, you see a student body that is vibrant, diverse, and deeply respectful of the heritage they carry. The racial friction that often clouds campus life in the West is remarkably absent here. You see students from across the Lusophone world, from Cabo Verde to Brazil, studying side by side in a spirit of academic brotherhood. This visibility provides a sense of security for Black families considering a move. It tells you that your children won't be anomalies in the lecture halls. They will be part of a long-standing tradition of international scholars. The soft life in Coimbra isn't just about leisure. It's about the peace of mind that comes from knowing your family's intellectual future is secure in an environment that values their humanity as much as their grades. It is about the freedom to study philosophy, law, or science in a city that treats every student with the gravitas of a future leader. The city itself is a labyrinth of medieval streets that descend from the university down to the riverside, filled with the haunting sounds of Coimbra fado. Unlike the fado in Lisbon, which is sung by women and speaks of longing, the fado here is traditionally sung by men in academic robes and speaks of student life, hope, and the pursuit of ideals. Sitting in a small plaza as these soulful notes echo off the ancient walls, you feel a sense of intellectual belonging. The safety of the city is absolute. You can wander through the botanical gardens or sit in a riverside cafe until the early hours of the morning, surrounded by a community that respects the quietude of the mind. Coimbra is a reminder that we deserve more than just survival. We deserve the highest level of intellectual cultivation. It is a call to reclaim our place in the global history of thought and to build a legacy for our children that is rooted in wisdom rather than debt. As you look up at the university clock tower, known as the GOAT, which has called students to class for hundreds of years, you realize that Coimbra is offering you a key to a new kind of freedom. It is the freedom to know, to grow, and to lead in a land that honors the brilliance within you. This is the intellectual sanctuary. This is the bridge to a future where your mind is as free as your spirit. Welcome to Coimbra. The Azores. If you have ever stood on the shores of Maui or Oahu and felt a deep spiritual connection to the volcanic soil, but were simultaneously suffocated by the astronomical prices and the swarms of tourists, then let me introduce you to your true Atlantic home. The Azores are a cluster of 9 emerald islands rising defiantly from the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, a place where the earth is still alive with the fire of its volcanic origins, and the air is so pure it feels like a benediction. For the black traveler, this is more than just a destination. It is the green exodus. It is the realization that the lush tropical paradise you've always dreamed of owning a piece of is not only real, but accessible. We often call this the Hawaii of Europe, but for our community, it is something much more profound. It is the Hawaii for us. It is a sanctuary where the greenery is so intense, it looks like a painting where hot springs bubble up from the ground to heal your weary bones, and where the pace of life is dictated by the tides and the wind, not by the demands of a high-stress society. Imagine standing on the edge of Sete Cidades, looking down into twin lakes, one blue, one Rumamena, nestled inside a massive volcanic crater. The scale of the landscape is so vast that it immediately silences the noise of the world you left behind. In the Azores, the soft life is not a luxury you have to work decades to afford. It is the default setting. The islands are covered in hydrangeas that line the roads like blue and purple guards, leading you to hidden waterfalls and black sand beaches where you can be the only soul in sight. For the black traveler coming from the United States, there is a specific kind of freedom in this isolation. You are not being watched. You are not being judged. You are simply a human being in conversation with the elements. The hypervigilance we carry in our DNA starts to melt away when you realize that the only thing watching you is the mist rolling over the mountains. The insight for our community here is one of radical economic empowerment. We have been priced out of the paradises within our own borders. In Hawaii, the dream of owning land or a home has become a bitter impossibility for most of us. But in the Azores, the dream is wide awake. Here, the American dollar possesses a transformative power. You can find yourself standing in the middle of a lush, fertile valley, surrounded by ancient stone walls and grazing cattle, and realize that you could own this entire horizon for the price of a parking space in San Francisco. This is the heart of the Exodus movement, moving to a place where your wealth is not just about your bank account, but about the quality of the air you breathe and the amount of land you can call your own. The cost of living on islands like São Miguel or Terceira is remarkably affordable. You can enjoy a farm-to-table lifestyle eating the freshest pineapple artisanal cheese and grass-fed beef, all while keeping your financial peace intact. Safety in the Azores is a tangible living thing. These are islands where people still leave their doors unlocked and where the sense of community is as strong as the volcanic rock beneath their feet. As a black person navigating these islands, you are met with a quiet, respectful hospitality. The locals have a deep connection to the sea and a history of migration themselves, which breeds a natural empathy for the traveler. You aren't seen as an outsider to be exploited, but as a guest to be honored. You can wander through the historic streets of Angra do Heroísmo or hike the rugged trails of Pico Island at any hour, knowing that you are safe. This is the psychological sanctuary. We have been searching for a place where you can truly blend in with the rhythm of nature. Madeira. If other islands are places to explore, then Madeira is the place to stop and truly live. Known as the Island of Eternal Spring, this gem rising from the heart of the Atlantic is not just a geological wonder with its sheer cliffs and prehistoric laurel forests, but a sanctuary for preserving the human spirit. For the Black American community, who are exhausted from constantly tensing up to survive in a system that prioritizes profit over people, Madeira emerges as a promise of total restoration. This is a place where the air is always sweet, with the scent of blooms, and the stress of modern life simply has no room to exist. Here, you don't just find a travel destination. You find a roadmap to reclaiming your right to be healthy and to age with dignity. The heart of the island's ecological and spiritual system is the network of levadas. These are ancient irrigation channels that wind for thousands of miles through lush green mountains and waterfalls cascading from the clouds. Walking along the levadas is more than a physical activity. It is a soul therapy. For the Black traveler, the feeling of immersing yourself in untamed nature without a single worry about security or discrimination is an ultimate liberation. You can spend long days weaving through the Laura Silva forests, breathing the purest air on the planet without the sound of car horns or urban hustle. The stillness of Madeira helps soothe nervous systems that have been traumatized by decades of living in a state of hypervigilance in the States. This is where you relearn to listen to your own heartbeat instead of the noise of fear. As you enter the city of Funchal, the island's capital, you will be overwhelmed by the vibrant beauty of tropical gardens and the exquisitely crafted black and white cobblestone streets. Funchal offers the feel of a sophisticated European metropolis, but with the warmth and intimacy of a tropical island. For those considering retirement or a permanent exodus, Funchal provides a reality we often dream of, but rarely achieve in America: an excellent and humane public healthcare system. We all know the pain of medical costs in the US, where a single emergency visit can wipe out a lifetime of savings, where medication is a financial burden, and where healthcare disparities for Black people are a painful reality. Madeira solves all these pains with a simple philosophy: health is a fundamental right, not a privilege for the wealthy. In Madeira, the healthcare system is designed to care for people, not to optimize invoices. For Black Americans who have chosen to settle here, the feeling of walking into a modern hospital, receiving dedicated care from top doctors without worrying about bankruptcy, is an indescribable relief. Medical costs here are a fraction of those in the US, while the quality of life is many times higher. This is the soft life at its most practical level, where you can retire with absolute peace of mind, knowing your body and mind will be protected. You no longer have to choose between paying rent or buying life-saving medication. In Madeira, your life is valued. As we stand at the edge of the Atlantic, watching the sun dip below the horizon of this ancient land, it is time to face a truth that has been whispering to your soul throughout this journey. Portugal is not just another pin on a map or a beautiful backdrop for a summer getaway. It is a profound, tangible opportunity to rewrite the narrative of your life. For the Black traveler, the journey across the ocean to these shores is more than a flight. It is a crossing into a reality where the heavy armor of hypervigilance is no longer required. We have spent so much of our lives in a state of survival navigating systems that demand our constant strength and our unwavering resilience. But here in the quiet squares of Lisbon and on the golden cliffs of the Algarve, you discover that you were never meant to just survive. You were meant to thrive in the light of peace. The blueprint to your freedom is far more attainable than the world back home would have you believe. We have been conditioned to think that leaving is an impossible dream, a luxury reserved for those with endless wealth. But the math of the Exodus tells a different story. When you look at the cost of a life in Portugal, the high-quality healthcare that doesn't demand your life savings, the fresh food that nourishes your body without breaking your budget, and the safety that allows you to walk through the world with your head held high, you realize that the real cost is staying where your peace is constantly under threat. The D7 visa and the digital nomad pathways are not just administrative doors. They are invitations to reclaim your time, your health, and your joy. Think about the legacy you want to build. Is it a legacy of the grind, of the constant hustle against the wind? Or is it a legacy of serenity and global citizenship? In Portugal, your dollar has a power that transforms your daily existence. It buys you the luxury of a slow morning, the dignity of a safe neighborhood, and the freedom to see your children grow up in an environment where their skin is seen as a beautiful thread in a diverse tapestry. Not a reason for caution. This is the soft life in its most radical form. It is the choice to step out of the race and into a rhythm that honors your humanity. As you prepare to return to the life you currently know, carry this vision with you. Let the warmth of the Portuguese sun remain in your bones. Remember the feeling of being invisible in the best way possible. Just another person enjoying a coffee. Just another soul watching the waves. The feasibility of this move is real. The community is already here waiting for you with open arms and a welcome home siesta on their lips. You have seen the cities, the mountains, and the sea, and you have felt the shift in your own spirit. It is important to remember that this is not just a vacation. This is a relocation of your soul. It is about choosing to live in a place that loves you back, a place that respects your rest as much as your contribution. Portugal offers you a sanctuary where you can finally put down your burdens and pick up your dreams. The road to this new life is paved with paperwork and logistics, yes, but it leads to a destination of total, unadulterated freedom. So, as the music fades and the images of these golden lands linger in your mind, ask yourself, what is your peace worth? The Exodus is not a flight from something, but a flight toward yourself. It is the ultimate act of self-love to choose a life that allows you to breathe. Portugal is waiting. The Atlantic is calling. And your seat at the table of the soft life is already reserved. This is your blueprint. This is your moment. It is time to come home to the freedom you have always deserved. Farewell until we meet again on the cobblestones of your new life.